This is a story about three individuals, Joey Maguire, Mosadi Otsile Molefe, or Maggie, and Mapikalele Sitibe, who left South Africa and apartheid for a new life in Atlanta in the 1990s and early 2000s. For Joey, Maggie, and Mapikalele, dance was their ticket to the United States. Joey and Maggie were part of the original troupe of dancers of the Soweto Street Beat Dance Company who traveled to America for the 1996 Olympics as the first black South African dance company to come to America. Joey ended up leaving the company in 1992, while Maggie left after she had her son in 1994. Mapikalele joined only after the company was searching for more dancers in South Africa, and he completed his immigration process and came to America in 2000. All three were involved in dance in some way during their formative years and knew both Western styles of dance as well as traditional Zulu dance. Dance was first a hobby and then a route to wealth. While none of them joined Soweto Street Beat Dance Company with the hope of immigrating to America, when provided the opportunity to go, they all agreed, viewing America with wonderful opportunities that were unavailable to them in South Africa. Their story maps a childhood of poverty in the townships of Johannesburg, experiencing a life that subordinated Africans and was rife with racism, discrimination, exploitation, and colonialization. Here, dance was an opportunity for something more.
Okay, my name is Musaritile Molife. I was born in South Africa, at the city, Johannesburg. Township is called Naledi. And I stayed I was raised by my grandmother, me and my siblings, my sister and my two brothers. I grew up in a rough neighborhood, Dry Hook. It's because of the crime is high because of poverty, So people, they just do housebreaking. They can come steal whatever you have in your house, break window. When you go out, they break your window, come in, steal TV, steal what to go and sell it, And we have murder too. My dad was killed, coming from work, and somebody just killed him for his suit. And that was a work suit, not even his suit. That was like a uniform, but he wore a suit because he was a driver. So somebody just saw him and then they stabbed him, undressed him, left him there. And they found him the next day, So yeah, my neighborhood was pretty rough, dangerous. We were just on our own with my grandmother, helping us, like trying to make ends meet for us, going to school without shoes, but we always go to school. She makes sure that we ate every day, even though she didn't have money, she didn't work, So, yeah.
My name is Joel Mugwera, but I go by Joey. And of course, born in Johannesburg, South Africa. I was born under my grandmother's house. I grew up with of course, under my mom, my uncle, and my aunt, and my granddad as well. I lived there my entire life until I left in 1992. We were not wealthy. As any kid, of course, I would tell you, it was great. And as you come of age, you're like, no, it wasn't as great.
My name is Mpigelele Sitebe. I was born in South Africa, Johannesburg. I was born in Baragwanath Hospital, and I was born January 12, 1982. I grew up in a neighborhood where nobody leaves the nest, really. Yeah. So I lived over there with my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncles, my mom, my aunties, and little cousins, older cousins. So, it was just a full house.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at that. But I mean, that's like the majority of the families in South Africa are like that. I mean, I won't say that I come from a rich family or I come from a middle class family. I come from a poor family.
The middle class started sinking, particularly in 1977. Again, the riots started in 1976. The major riots started in 1976, where the shootings started and the dismantling of the family in particular. That broke a lot of the black family in South Africa. That's when a lot of people were started to get jailed. They went to jail. A lot of them started becoming political exiles, so to speak. They were exiled out of South Africa because they were, regarded as political nuisance. They were not to remain in South Africa. So the South African government at the time exiled whoever they assumed, whoever they thought, or whoever they proved to be a, political nuisance in South Africa. Including my stepdad as well. He was part of the exiled people out of South Africa. He was more of a minister. He was a preacher. But of course, every so often, even the preachers would have, influence when it comes to political issues or, cultural issues that were going on. Fast forward a couple of years later into 1979, my grandfather now, who was there, who also was a part of me, now he passed away. So when that happened, then I started sinking even further down into depression. As a kid, everybody thought I was just a well-behaved child and, I'm always at home. But they never really realized that hole within me was just missing. So that part became a major role as well. And then along with that, the country was going down into chaos. It was chaos almost probably like twice, maybe once a year. There would be riots, there would be, a form of unrest, protests. People would protest any company in South Africa that was deemed to, now proven or unproven, as long as it was deemed to support apartheid, they would, particularly the political groups, political organizations like ANC and and PAC, they would foster some type of protests where people would not support those companies.
My only memory that I have when it comes to that, it was when I was outside at my friend's house, actually standing by the gate at his house, and
Mm-hmm.
then this Caucasian police officer was driving his police squad car, whatever it was, and he just stopped at the stop sign and looked at me, and then he just flicked me off, for no reason, for no reason. And mind you, I'm only a minor. I don't even have a double digit in my years.
Yeah.
I'm just a little kid, and he just looked at me and flicked me off, and then he drove off. So I can say that's like by far the experience that no kid should experience when it comes to the law. But at the time I already knew how police officers were when it comes to black people in our neighborhood. They would get out of the car and just beat you up. So I knew what they were doing at that age already, because like in my neighborhood, when the cops came around, everybody just go into their yard because they know they're just going to pick something that is not even happening so they can do something to somebody, you know so a lot of kids knew, like, when cops come, just run, go get inside the yard. So that's why I never responded or said anything, because I knew if I responded, he would have came out of his car, beat me up, or shot me, one of the two. So I had to let that go and just deal with the day. But yeah, that's like by far my worst experience when it came to that time.
My grandmother was a domestic worker. Um, Her being a domestic worker, she should be in, like, she worked 5 days a week. So once a day, she'd be at a different house. And, so she would have totally different influences because one family would be Jewish, one family would be um, um, pretty much South African Afrikaans, and the next one would be the Irish. And so every household had their own culture that they observed, even though they were still South African, but they still had their own culture they observed. We did not have electricity in the townships. You know, it'd be candles and everything. When you go into the city, of course, it's lights and everything. Everything is powered, and you look in while they're cleaning up is vacuum cleaners here, electric kettles, coffee makers. Like, it's a totally different world from where you come from. So you look at that, you're like, how is this so different? Why don't we as a kid, you're thinking, why don't I have this at home? But you don't have the courage enough to ask your elders about that. Why don't we have this? Later on, of course, we ask, but it's not easy to attain.
Despite these impoverished conditions, these individuals became involved in dance as something fun and was considered a hobby for them during their youth and teenage years. Joey and Maggie first got into dance through different youth clubs in their townships, where they learned both Western styles of dance, like ballet, tap, jazz, and contemporary, as well as the traditional South African Zulu dances. Dance was something that these individuals foresaw as an opportunity for something greater and as a way to assist with their impoverished families.
I stayed with my grandmother, and she was a pensioner. I think she used to get like 50 rands or 53 rands a month. And that's the money. When she gets it, she has to buy food for us, and it has to last at least the whole month. We have to eat out of that money. If we have to travel, we have to travel out of that money. So we didn't have money to do anything else but food. That's why I end up doing dancing, because I figure out, like, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to stay like this. I don't want my grandma to keep doing what she's doing for the rest of her life. And if there's anything that I can do to make money, I know I couldn't get a job. There were no jobs. And I find out that, with what you love to do, you can get paid. And I used to love theater. I did theater at school. I used to do acting. Anything that has to do with something that's going to take me away from home, I used to do it. Like, I used to do acting, I used to do singing, I used to do whatever. Mm-hmm. So dancing, and then that's when I realized, oh, you're going to pay me for doing something that I love to do? So yeah, we're going to pay you for doing dance. I said, okay. And then that's when I started dancing.
I pretty much was, as I said earlier, being responsible with family and for the most part being at home. And my grandmother and my brother pretty much had this idea like, okay, we got to do something about him. They figured out a way, and they knew what I liked, but they never really had an idea how to come about doing it. So my brother, he was pretty much a manager at the time, and he was pretty much a leader in a youth group. And he came home, he was like, hey man, look, I got something I'd like, for you to be a part of. And I kept asking him questions. It's pretty much a youth group, but since I'm older than him, it's pretty much a youth group, but you are a perfect age, because my girlfriend's best friend, they started a dance aspect of it. And you'll probably have, to travel a lot. And when he said travel, was pretty much other cities and provinces outside of South Africa. I mean, outside of this, the state, Gauteng state. I was like, okay, cool, I'll check it out. And I went one time for an audition, and the girlfriend was like, oh, he's staying, he's not leaving. I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's today. I'm like, yep. Luck had its way just before I left, because I think I had about a 4-week span of finishing my semester there. Then there was a dance troupe that was newly formed, and lo and behold, this young South African lady, you know, it's she's a black colored in South Africa. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but there is four races, major races in South Africa. Pretty much the black, the whites, what they call the coloreds, and the Asian. And she was the choreographer. Her husband is Zulu. So they created a troupe where they would professionally have everything done, as well as in choreography, managing, and touring as well. And excuse me, my old choreographer was a part of it, and he called me and my best friend into it. We decided to go and join, be a part of it. Um, the next thing I know, I was part of this dance troupe. It wasn't as affluent as the school that I just came out of, but the hard work was phenomenal because it was like she knew where she came from. That's this the choreographer. She knew where she came from. She knew what she wanted, and she knew what she was dealing with because she was pretty much, and I hate accepting this, but she pretty much knew she was dealing with pretty much underprivileged, young kids. And she wanted to make something out of what she had. She was much more advanced professionally in dance. And her husband wanted to incorporate the traditional cultural African dances. And that became a Soweto street beat dance theater.
The Soweto Street Beat Dance Company was founded in 1989 as a way to get underprivileged youth off the streets and showcase the blend of South African cultures. The company performs largely traditional Zulu dances such as celebration, warrior, and communal dances that incorporate drums and chants, as well as traditional dress of zebra skins, wool, and ostrich feathers. Even though the performances focus on Zulu culture, they also include styles from some of the other South African cultures, such as Sotho, Xhosa, Swazi, Venda, and Shangaan. Both Maggie and Joey joined Soweto Street Beat in its early years and had the ability to tour various parts of South Africa before traveling to Europe and later America in the years leading up to the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. Mapika Lele joined the company later in 2000 after the company traveled back to South Africa in search for more dancers to showcase South African culture in America.
I joined Soweto Street Beat after I saw them performing at this thing called Dance Umbrella. Every year they had it at Wits University. So I was just passing by, I heard drums and everything. Then I went in there. Then I saw them dancing. After that, I said, you know what, I want to join them. And I went to backstage. I said, hey, I want to join. And they were like, okay, you have to come in on Monday for the audition. And I went on Monday. I went with my sister. And they told me they don't want me, they want my sister. Because my sister was a better dancer than me. And then I went back home. I told my grandma. And my grandma was like, you stay in school, you can go and dance. And that's how I joined the company.
I became involved with Soda Street Beat um, through my mom. My mom was a friend of the Soda Street Beat owner, and I was already established as a dancer in South Africa, but it was not like a well-known group. It was known enough by a lot of people, but it was not like as famous as Soda Street Beat is. Um, I did that, and as I was growing up, I started, get interest on different things, and that group fell apart. And then the opportunity came when my mom came and asked me if do I want to go to the United States. I looked at her like, go to the United States. We don't even have $10 in our pockets right now. How am I gonna make it to the United States? you know, I'm like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, I'm serious. I'm like, okay. She's like, okay, now there's these guys, they just came from the US, they do this dancing and everything. So go visit them, you know. They were in South Africa at the time. She's like, go visit them, get meet them and let them know who you are what you do and stuff like that. I'm like, okay. And then I went over there to visit the Soda Street Beat dancers that came to South Africa to visit that December. It was 1998 when I met them. And yeah, it was 1998. And I met them and, very friendly people, and they started talking to me and stuff like that and, letting me know how the US is. Once they told me about that and then, I said, man, I would love to come over there, man, and do what you guys do. Cause, I was interested, and then they told me they dance. I'm like, yeah, I do dance too, and they asked me what kind of dancing I'm doing. And I told them, I do traditional dancing, which is Zulu dancing. And that's what they did as well. So it took a year for me to come here.
Prior to the Soweto Street Beat Dance Company coming to America, this was a very transitional time in Atlanta's history and would ultimately be the reason for why the company moved to Atlanta in 1992. In 1987, Atlanta attorney Billy Payne and Mayor Andrew Young began to develop a bid for Atlanta to host the 1996 Olympics. Many of Atlanta's white elites were responsible for the creation of the Atlanta Organizing Committee, which later became the Olympic Committee that would be responsible for securing the Olympic bid and proving that Atlanta was worthy of hosting the Olympics. But pre-Olympics Atlanta was very different from the city that we know today. It was not considered a world-class city and had numerous problems with infrastructure and quality of life, like transportation, public housing, public safety, and the environment. Members of this Olympic Committee had the goal of making Atlanta an international city and globalizing the city through the Olympics. The goal was to link Southern connections with international connections for what would become the most diverse cultural Olympiad ever, showcasing global arts, culture, and entertainment in the 4 years leading up to the Olympics. One member of the Olympic Committee, Atlanta businessman William Sims, discovered the Soweto Street Beat Dance Company in South Africa and planned a contract for the dance group for 1992 to 1997 to tour America and bring awareness to South African culture in the years leading up to the 1996 Olympics.
Everything was pretty much happening at lightning speed, which was in 1990, 1991. We had an invitation to tour and perform in Geneva, Europe. While that was in place, another offer came which was bigger, like global bigger. So when that came, our manager and the choreographer was like, this is the United States. It's a contract for 1992 to 1997. And this is Geneva. It's just a one-time gig. What do we do? There was, of course, a no-brainer. Like, okay, here's United States. It's accommodation, it's pay, it's longevity. Let's take it.
He used to travel the world, and this guy came to the hair show that we have in South Africa. So we went there. I remember there was a huge house. We were at the backyard, and everybody was sitting, and we were dancing, dancing, dancing. And he liked what he saw. And after dancing, then he went to talk to our director. He wanted information about our dance troupe. And our director gave him the information, and they started negotiating, and he started saying, hey, I'm part of this Olympic committee. We're putting together something for the 96 Olympics that are coming to Atlanta.
The first tour started in 92 in November 24th, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 24th. And then we started touring. Of course, we were in New York. We didn't do anything in New York. Just came through New York. And that was it.
In the middle of 1999, Peter, which is the owner of Soda Street Beat, called me at my house and to introduce himself because I did not see him or meet him when they were in town. I only had one day to go and meet them, and then I think they were taking off the next day. Yeah, so and then he gave me a phone call. He called me because I gave his son my phone number, and his son gave him my phone number, and he called my house. And then I spoke to him, and asked me, he asked me if I was interested in coming to the US. I said, of course, I'm interested just like anybody in here. is interested in coming to the U.S. You know, so fast forward, he's like, okay, just make sure you work out and you fit because what we do here is, is really serious and we take it very serious. You have to be fit for this. I said, oh, I'm working out right now. I'm not sitting down just waiting. I'm not that type of a guy. I like to do stuff all the time. He's like, okay, good. We'll see when you get here though. I'm like, okay, and then he gave me another call. I think it probably maybe even like 4 months after he had called me the first time. And he asked me, am I still interested in coming over there? Or have I changed my mind, Because it was like closer to the time when I was about to take off and come up here. And I told him, yes, I am still interested in coming over there. And then he let me meet up with somebody to take me to the embassy so I can get my visa and all that type of stuff ready. And then December 13th of 1999, that's when I flew. And then December 14th of 1999, that's when I landed in the US. And boom, the life of Pigalele begins. Yeah, that's how my life with Soda Street Beat started.
So we got here, we started performing everywhere. We did all these big shows, performed with Michael Jackson, Ladies Night. I mean, you name them, we did shows with them.
While Atlanta was planning to host the Olympics in the early 1990s, former President Jimmy Carter was focusing his attention on the Atlanta Project, a plan to confront urban blight and poverty in the city through a neighborhood-based and resident-driven approach. One component of this project was vaccinating children as a part of this larger effort to make Atlanta a global city in the years leading up to the Olympics. Children who were under 6 that lived in Atlanta Project neighborhoods, if they had their immunization records certified and up to date with their parents, they could attend a concert on May 5th, 1993 that featured Gladys Knight, Michael Jackson, as well as other well-known personalities such as Atlanta Hawks' Kevin Willis, Ronald McDonald, and Captain Planet. Among some of the other performances were Douglas High School Choir, the Washington High School Band, and the Soweto Street Beat Dance Company. Along with touring the country, the company did many performances for churches and schools with the intention of bringing awareness to South African culture. Many performances included geography lessons or taught audience members different Zulu words and phrases along with the performances.
This was a middle school we were performing at. Early in the morning too, it was like 8:30. I liked it because they never seen what we do before. They never seen what we dress like before. So whatever we about to do, they've never seen it, So I told myself and I told everybody in the back, it was only 4 of us. I told the other 3 in the back that, okay, listen, they never seen this before. Let's walk out here like it's still 12 of us out here.
So why was coming to America appealing?
I mean, it was, to me personally, speaking for myself, it was appealing because I saw a lot of opportunities that South Africa did not have, and South Africa may have had those opportunities, but there was so many fences you had to jump to get to this little simple thing, and then the US gave everybody an opportunity that, okay, you want to be this, you can become this, just go do that, and it doesn't even take that long, so I came with a very focused mind, like, okay, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
When you come from South Africa, as with any culture, there are differences, and you realize, hey, you're not in Africa anymore. You have to adapt, and you have to adapt quick, and even though that's the requirement, it never really happens. The beauty about American youth is that, they were already given the right to express themselves, the ability to express. South Africa, particularly the black culture, being expressive was viewed as a sign of disrespect. Let me give you a prime example with that. With American youth is if your child is unhappy with something, they have an open door policy to have you come on in and, hey, mom, dad, this is what's bothering me, or no, I'm not comfortable with this, so I'd rather not do it, I don't want to do it. Yes, you're bound by the family laws to observe what your parents tell you. South Africa, on the opposite side, is whatever your mom, dad says goes, non-negotiable. Parents know better. That's just the reality of it. Being expressive, it's not regarded as, a child being innovative, a child being growing into their own. It's just a sign of pretty much disrespect. You do not come to your parents, look them in the eye, and tell them what you think is wrong. My friend and I, Maggie, we knew we were just not gonna leave it, and go home, because to us it would have been another failure, and we knew we did not want to fail. I didn't want to fail, she didn't want to fail, and everyone was growing up. The discussion was we wanted the best education he can get, because South Africa just would not cut it with what we knew was going on there, even though at this point apartheid was becoming abolished. We did not see everything going the way we were hearing things go. Yes, everybody was happy for freedom, but freedom usually costs, and there are boundaries within freedom, and there is a lot of work that comes with it. So there was a beautiful insight that I think the both of us had, and we knew it was a pact that we made. Like, we just not gonna, we're already here. We might as well fight a good fight of surviving and making life better.
Dancing, what I can say, dancing, that's the thing that saved my life. Being showbiz, that's the thing that I can say it saves my life. If I didn't stick to it, if I didn't believe in it, sometimes I ask myself, what would I be? Where would I be? I look at the people back home, my friends and everybody. Sometimes I ask myself, where would I be if I didn't do that? And I used to tell people that one day I'm going to go to America, but nobody believed me. They were like, oh, you stay with your grandmother. You don't have money for food. You don't have money for this. How are you going to afford to go to America? How are you going to afford it? But I made it. I stick to my guts, and I made it. I'm still here.